Welcome to Bricks of Norway. Hi there, my name is Paul, and welcome to my third video in my Technics series. Today we are going to talk about the year 1984. In the first one we covered the years 1977 to 1979 and the second one 1980 to 1981. In 1984, Lego released their first pneumatic sets. So what is pneumatic? Well, it's the same as you see in an excavator or a tractor with a front loader that use hydraulics to move the actuators. With pneumatic you use air instead of oil, and using oil in a Lego set would not be possible. That would be a lot of mess. So Lego decided to use pneumatic. And in 1984, Lego released their first gen of pneumatic accessories. So in 1984, I got my first Lego pneumatic Technic set, and it was this one, set number 8843, forklift truck. 269 pieces, so not such big, not a big set. And as I said, this is using the first gen of pneumatics. Sadly, the first generation of pneumatics really don't work that well, especially not after 30 plus years. Getting things to raise this fork now would be hard. And I'll talk more about the differences between first gen and second gen, and why first gen is so bad. As you can see, it doesn't move at all. But this is a nice little forklift truck. Has the ability to tilt forks, and it should be able to lift the fork. I might have to help it a little bit. It does not want to move at all. No, oh, now it's moving. Not much then. Oh, it's actually moving by itself. And they have a hands of God steering. And I have the steering wheel turning inside. The 8843 was a simple pneumatic model with one pump and one cylinder. And one switch to control the cylinder. I think they sold a lot of them, but I think people got a bit disappointed. The same year they released another pneumatic model. That was the top of the line in 1984. That is set number 8851, Excavator. And this one is more advanced. It doesn't have that many pieces, only 347 pieces, and a lot of them are in the in the tracks. But it has 3 cylinders, 1, 2, and 3, to move to act as a proper excavator, and has 3 control levers. The bottom part is spinning freely from the top part, and the tracks are unpowered. This one works a little bit better than the forklift truck, so I actually can do some movements with this one. I can actually lower the boom. I should be able to move the buckets. This gets stuck, the cylinders get stuck. But the second one, Yeah, it actually moved a little bit today. I tried it yesterday and it wouldn't move at all. It's important to get the pump to get all the top, but it won't move at all. No. So this is not working properly. But this was the top of the line of the pneumatic sets in 1984, and it was a highly sought after model. This was very popular and on most kids' wish list for Christmas. I didn't get this one as a child. I bought this one many years later, being a grown-up, paying for my own Lego sets. And it was a dream come true to finally have this one. I knew that it was a first-gen pneumatic set, so I knew it would have some restriction on the operations, the possibility to operate. But it's a great model. I really, really like it. Later on, Lego has released several Technic pneumatic sets, but this was the 2 of the 3 sets released in 1984. Lego released a new pneumatic set in 1986 that also used first-gen pneumatics accessories. And then they took a new break until 1989, until releasing the Gen 2 of the pneumatic accessories, as was highly improved performance-wise. I said I would try to explain the differences between Generation 1 and Generation 2 of the pneumatic from Lego. And this is Gen 2 pneumatics accessories. Very traditional, more similar to the hydraulics used in real life. We have a pump on the left here. We have one valve to choose the direction of the piston in the cylinder, and you have the cylinder here. So if I just pump now, as the valve is in the middle selection, then nothing happens. It's hard to pump. If I move this switch down and I pump, you'll see the piston move, and I move it the other direction, it will move the piston. Very nice. This is the traditional way. In the real life, you would have a reservoir to have extra hydraulic oil. But since Lego is using only air that you can let in and let out without any problem, because there is all around you, you don't need an extra reservoir. Here we have the small pump that you can motorize to get have continuous pressure. This is a small one made to be motorized or manually cranked. And this is the air tank, the inlet and outlet, that you can use to build up pressure with a pump, manual pump, and then use the pressure from the tank to operate your model. This is generation 1 of the Lego pneumatics. It has a different layout, as you can see. You still have the pump, and you have the cylinder, and you have the switch. But in between the pump and the switch, you have the distribution block. This is the cylinder from generation 2 that we saw earlier, and this is the cylinder in generation 1. As you can see, cylinder in generation 2 has 2 inlets or outlets, that depends on how you look at it, and the one from generation 1 has 1 inlet. And that's a big difference for these cylinders and how they operate. As you can see, we have the distribution block here, and when you pump air to the distribution block. There are 2 hoses from the distribution block to the switch, and then 1 hose from the distribution switch to the cylinder. As I pump here, nothing happens. And what happens if I try to go up now? The piston is already at the top. So the same thing is happening when you try to move the piston up. You pump air with a pump into the distribution block, into the valve, the switch, where you choose whether to have the piston move up or down. So when you want it to move up, you pump air into the cylinder to push the piston up. When you move the switch to have the piston to move downwards, you don't pump air into the cylinder to move it down. You create a vacuum to have it to suck it down. So when I pump now, and I guess it might have been stuck, yeah. If it sits for more than 5 minutes, it gets stuck. I move it to the up, and then I will pump air into the cylinder to move the piston up. Then I move the switch down again. Then I'll suck the air out of the cylinder to have, and you see some false movement when I'm pushing the pump downwards. The piston will move a little bit up before being sucked down again. This is the problem with Gen 1. Vacuum is not the best way to make things move. I see that the piston moves a little bit up each time I press the pump down. And when I press the pump down, it moves a little bit up. And when I releases the pump, then that's when the vacuum is created. I guess it might be easier to see the principle here with pumping the air and the vacuum. Now I put the direct hose between the pump and the cylinder, and put the piston in the middle. And when I press the pump down, it will move up, and when I releases the pump, I'll suck it down again. The principle is good. It's a nice attempt from Lego. When you use it, you will soon see that is more efficient to use the Gen 2 that will push the piston down with air instead of sucking it down. So now I have modified the 8851 Excavator. The plan was always to modify it to use generation 2 of the Pneumatics. I've never done it until now. I thought I had to make the video with Gen 1 before modifying it. So here it is with Gen 2 Pneumatics. We still have the same pump, the same valves, and you have still three cylinders, but there are no Gen 2 instead with the 2 inlets. I've rerouted the hoses because there are now running twice as many hoses from the valves to the cylinders. Less hoses internally in the excavator. We won't see that anyway, so it doesn't matter. So, and I will of course verify that it works before starting this video. And then we'll see, because of the weight, it will drop of itself. But if I have pressure, I will move as soon as I open the valve. And it runs much more, or it operates much more smoothly than the Gen 1. So what about the 8843 forklift truck? I wanted to modify this as well to use version Gen 2 of the Pneumatics. Unfortunately, I couldn't do that because this one is actually using the large cylinder, 64 millimeter, compared to the ones on the Excavator, where it's only 48 millimeters. And in Gen 2, the large one wasn't. There wasn't a large version of the Gen 2 cylinders, so then I couldn't modify this. So to modify this, I have to use the latest version of the Pneumatics. I would call it Gen 3, but Lego seems to call it version 2. But so there we have the large cylinder, so maybe one day I'll modify it. That's all for this time. I hope I made it easier to understand the differences between Gen 1 and Gen 2 of the pneumatics from Lego, and hopefully I've been able to demonstrate the differences. So please like and subscribe. Enjoy!